Something seems to be happening with you, but you cannot figure out why. But you can see those patterns that are appearing in your life. For example, तुमने ये notice किया कि you wanted to set your life free, you wanted to be good, you wanted to be more disciplined. But how much ever you try, you start the thing, but you're not able to complete it. और तुमने एक मास्क पहन के रखा है. You're not living how you wanted to live, but you're just performing for others. और वो चीज़ तुमको uncomfortable feel करती है, and you're not happy about it. Or you're having some or the other kind of addiction. Either तुम porn देखते हो, या you drink a lot, you smoke a lot, or whatever the kind of addiction it is. Even you like to eat junk food. और तुम ये notice किया है कि you get offended very quickly because you get hurt more easily. And finally, तुम rejection से बहुत डरते हो, even failure से. That is the reason you try to be more perfect. तो तुम हमेशा ये लूप में फंसे रहते हो कि you wanted to be perfect. इसलिए तुम किसी चीज को स्टार्ट भी नहीं कर पाते हो, you know. And this all of the things are troubling you, or any one or two of the things. And if it is true, I'm not going to tell that it is you're wrong, you're lazy, or you need to step up. But I'm going to say one thing, that there is something that has happened with you in your past or when you're a child that needs to be understood and fixed. सो तुम लोगों ने सुना होगा रिसेंटली, जो भी कुछ लोग इंस्टाग्राम फॉलो करते हैं या सेल्फ हेल्प को बहुत फॉलो करते हैं, दे आर दिस टर्म्स कॉल्ड साइकोलॉजिकल वुंड्स, ट्रॉमा. ये सब एक ही है, ट्रॉमा या वुंड. सो इसी की वजह से यू आर सफरिंग विथ टॉक्सिक शेम. सो आई विल बी एक्सप्लेनिंग यू फर्स्ट व्हाट ए वुंड इज फॉर दोस हु आर नॉट अवेयर, और उसके बाद हम टॉक्सिक शेम पे आते हैं. सो बेसिकली हमारे बचपन में, चाहते हुए या ना चाहते हुए, हमारे पेरेंट्स हमको एक पर्टिकुलर साइकोलॉजिकल वुंड्स देते हैं, नॉट फिजिकल वुंड्स लाइक मार पिटाई करना. यू नो, देयर दिस वुंड्स लाइक अबैंडनमेंट, अनप्रिडिक्टेबल रहना, या तुमको जानबूझ के शेम करना, एंड दे नॉट अप्रिशिएटिंग यू इनफ, दे नॉट नॉलेजिंग यू इनफ. ये सब चीज़ों की वजह से यू विल बी हैविंग सम पर्टिकुलर वुंड इनसाइड यू, बिकॉज एवरी चाइल्ड नीड्स लव एंड अश्योरेंस दैट इज टेकन केयर ऑफ, दैट इज एक्नॉलेज्ड. जब उस बच्चे को वो नहीं मिलता, तो एक वुंड फॉर्म होती है साइकोलॉजिकली. नाउ इफ दिस वुंड कीप्स ऑन रिपीटिंग एंड रिपीटिंग, इट डज नॉट हील. सो इस पर्टिकुलर अनहील्ड वुंड को हम अनहील्ड ट्रॉमा बोलते हैं. बट देयर फ्यू ट्रॉमास और वुंड्स जो हील होती है विथ टाइम, ऑब्वियसली, क्योंकि एक हादसा हुआ अपने जीवन में, बट व्हेन द टाइम गोस ऑन, ही हील्स ओवर इट, ही मूव्स ऑन विथ इट. बट सेम चीज, सेम शेम करना या कंपेयर करना फ्रॉम पेरेंट्स या एल्डर्स, इट डजंट हैव अ चांस टू गेट हील्ड और मूव ऑन. सो इसीलिए जो ट्रॉमा होती है वो अनहील्ड होती है. और जब वो अनहील्ड ट्रॉमा इज अफेक्टिंग योर सेल्फ वर्थ, योर कॉन्फिडेंस, देन इट विल बिकम टॉक्सिक, और उसको टॉक्सिक शेम बोलते हैं. तो अभी टॉक्सिक शेम के बारे में भी मैं एक बात बोलना चाहता हूँ कि हमेशा या मोस्ट ऑफ द टाइम पीपल विल बी कंफ्यूज बिटवीन फीलिंग गिल्टी एंड टॉक्सिक शेम, क्योंकि ये दोनों सेम लग सकता है, बट दे नॉट द सेम. गिल्टी का मतलब है action based. So when you did something and later you felt that is wrong and you're feeling bad about it, that means you have guilt inside you. But shame is nothing but you're feeling that you itself are wrong. So इसलिए दोनों completely different है. That means अगर तुमको guilty हो रही है, you will think that I did something bad. But अगर तुमको toxic shame है, you will feel that you are bad. तो बेसिकली तुमने कुछ गलत किया है या तुम खुद गलत हो, ऐसे फील करना इज टॉक्सिक शेम. एंड दिस विल अफेक्ट इन मल्टीपल पार्ट्स ऑफ योर लाइफ. ये सिर्फ एक माइंडसेट या मेंटल इश्यू नहीं है. इट विल बी अफेक्टिंग इवन योर रिलेशनशिप्स, योर गोल्स, योर करियर्स, इवन योर हेल्थ, दैट आई विल बी एक्सप्लेनिंग लेटर. बट ये समझ लेना कि टॉक्सिक शेम इज द मोस्ट फंडामेंटल काइंड ऑफ ए अनहील्ड ट्रॉमा दैट विल अफेक्ट मेनी पार्ट्स ऑफ द लाइफ एंड ऑल्सो गिव राइज टू वेरियस अदर मेंटल हेल्थ इश्यूज. एंड दैट एग्जैक्टली इज द रीजन हमको टॉक्सिक शेम के बारे में बहुत अच्छे से समझना चाहिए, एंड वी नीड टू वर्क ऑन इट. यू नो, बिफोर मूविंग ऑन एनी फर्दर, हमको ये जानना है कि हाउ डज टॉक्सिक शेम एक्चुअली कम टू अस, हाउ इट गेट बिल्ड्स इनटू द चाइल्ड. एंड इसी कारण हमको एक क्वेश्चन आ सकती है कि पेरेंट्स या टीचर्स हमेशा हमारे ऊपर कंप्लीटली ध्यान नहीं दे सकते हैं. दे इवन हैव देयर ओन लाइफ. यू नो, दे मे बी बिजी, they may be suffering with their own mental tensions or whatever irritants that may be having in their life. So sometimes they may be not focusing on us, or they might be showing some irritation towards the child. So why does the toxic shame build up, and why does child doesn't understand it? This is where the actual answer lies, because child, when he's born, he's not aware of the external world that he's living in. So he's on a constant lookout. And children most often are egocentric. मतलब वो हमेशा अपने खुद के नजरिए से दुनिया को देखते हैं. उसका मतलब he will feel that he is the center of the world. And उसी reason की वजह से so when a parent scolds him or ignores him or doesn't love him properly and be unpredictable emotionally, and that's why because he is egocentric, he will think that whatever it is happening in his environment is happening because of him. ये सब चीजें when repeatedly होते जा रही है उसके साथ, okay, and he is not getting fulfilled, with warmth, with love, उसको toxic shame होगी. So to give a small example, you might have heard a term called nice guy. Mostly boys nice guys में बदलते हैं. But what exactly is making them to be a nice guy is the actual question, right? So it happened mostly when their mother is very emotionally volatile. उसका मतलब है she doesn't know how to control her emotions. So whatever that may be happening in her life, that may be troubling her and whatever it is, she comes and dumps on the child. And we see often in most households that is what it happens. This boy especially will try to manage his mother's emotions. That means he will be feeling responsible for his mother's emotions. And because of the reasons, he will be needing a constant approval from her. So that is the reason you can see nice guys always seeks others' approval before taking their own decision. So now let me tell you how exactly this toxic shame shows up. Because this is not loud, it is very subtle. Because it integrates in your personality and you think that's how you are. But there are few signs that we can find out when that pattern keeps on repeating in your personality. And the first sign is you're going to wear a mask always. Mask का मतलब तुम एक particular group के साथ जब रहते हो, you'll behave in a certain way. And when you're in a home, you're an entirely different person. So this exactly changing your behaviors according to the other person is what mask means. And the sign number two is perfectionism that stops you. So who is having the toxic shame, right? He'll have very low self-worth. He's afraid of rejection. और वो फेल्यूर से बहुत डरता है. इसलिए वो हमेशा ओवरथिंक करते रहता है. And he will always be preparing. He'll keep on reading books and books. He'll keep on researching about things. He'll always be thinking theoretically, but never does act. That is the reason he doesn't even start, and even if he starts, वो finish नहीं करता, because in between he thinks, अरे मैं ठीक से नहीं कर रहा हूँ, and he again go back to learning again. And sign number 3, he gets hurt very easily. अगर तुम ये नोटिस किया कि तुमको हर छोटी सी बात जो सामने वाले बोलते हैं, या सटल क्रिटिसिज्म, या इवन जस्ट एक सजेशन देते हैं दूसरे लोग, देयर इज समथिंग डीप इनसाइड दैट ऑफेंड्स यू एंड यू गेट हर्ट इजीली. सो दिस वन ऑफ द क्लासिक साइन कि तुमको टॉक्सिक शेम है. योर सेल्फ वर्थ इज वेरी लो, सो यू कांट टेक एनी क्रिटिसिज्म. एंड साइन नंबर 4, यू जज अदर्स क्विकली एंड वेरी हार्शली. सो ऑलरेडी मैंने बोला था कि जिनको टॉक्सिक शेम है उनका सेल्फ वर्थ बहुत कम है. सो टू बैलेंस इट आउट, व्हाट दिस गाय डज इज, वो हमेशा दूसरों को नीचा दिखाता है, even in words या अपने अंदर ही. He'll constantly judge. He'll find some or the other reason to put them down, even in his mind also. So just by doing it, so he will feel a temporary raise or buff in his own self-worth. And sign number 5 is you cannot accept love easily. कुछ लोगों में या अपने आप में तुम ये नोटिस करा होगा कि whenever you get a compliment or whenever someone says that they love you or they shows through their actions that they have something towards you, even love or some affection, you feel a little uncomfortable or you feel confused ki how to take it. This is one of the classic signs that you have a toxic shame, because that was never given to you in a proper way. There was always a condition, or you will even think that you're not worthy to receive that love and you push people away from you. So this is called avoidant attachment. Is you people please often. जो भी टॉक्सिक शेम होती है ना, बिकॉज ऑफ हिज लो सेल्फ वर्थ, ही ट्राई टू प्लीज पीपल वेरी मच. हमेशा यस 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 बोलता रहता है. ही डजंट से नो एट ऑल. एंड द लास्ट साइन इज ही डिसअपियर्स और ही शट्स ऑफ. सो तुमने कुछ लोगों को देखा होगा, अपन स्मॉल कन्फ्रंटेशन और सम ऑकवर्ड टेंशन बिटवीन यू एंड हिम, और तुम खुद यू विल कंप्लीटली डिसअपियर. यू विल कैंसिल प्लान सडनली. You'll come up with some of the other reasons suddenly, so that just to avoid a certain event or a moment. So अभी तक जो भी हमने टॉक्सिक शेम के बारे में कुछ साइंस देखा था, you come up with all these signs as a solutions as your survival strategies. Now we will see exactly how this toxic shame will affect your life. So for that we'll be taking 4 different categories. One is your physical health, your mental health, your career, and your relationships. And all of these categories, we'll see how the toxic shame affects you. First, let's look at your relationships. अभी हमने डिस्कस किया था कि यू विल वेयर अ मास्क, you will people please, you'll have these perfectionism tendencies, you're afraid of rejections and everything, and all of these behaviors, right, and mindset will actually affect your relationship. See, if you are afraid of rejection, you'll never approach anyone, or you'll never initiate conversation, and you'll never talk to people because of this fear, and it'll affect your relationship. You'll never meet new people, and even because of your disappearing tendencies and wearing of the mask, you're never true to yourself, and you'll never show your authentic behaviors to others, and you'll keep people at distance. And that is the reason you can never form a real bond, a deep bond with people, and it affects your relationship. Now, coming to your career and your ambitions, those who are having or suffering with this toxic shame will self sabotage themselves because they are afraid to be visible because of the rejection and all of these things. Will never complete the things that have started. जानबूझ के नए नए अपॉर्चुनिटीज को इग्नोर करते हैं बिकॉज दे आर अफ्रेड ऑफ फेल्योर. और ये सब चीज़ों की वजह से they won't grow up in their life, and their career will get affected, and they stay on being mediocre. इसलिए you can see the few people, they may be good at singing, or they're very good orators, when they're one on one or with their comfortable group, but when the time comes to perform on stage, they have stage fear. Or to talk properly with stakeholders or clients, they can't talk properly. They'll have some anxiety, so their performance drops. And if you people call it performance anxiety, all of these things will happen when you have toxic shame. Now, coming to your mental health, it will affect very drastically. You take depression, anxiety, people dependency, anxious attachment, avoidant attachment, all of these things or the terms, whatever you heard, all are happening because of toxic shame. Many researchers and therapists जिन्होंने टॉक्सिक शेम एंड अनहील्ड ट्रॉमा के ऊपर रिसर्च किया था, कि उन सब लोगों ने एक ही बात कहा था कि दिस एग्जैक्ट टॉक्सिक शेम इज द फंडामेंटल फैक्टर that will determine your future and your mental state when you're growing up. And finally, when we look at the bodies or your physical health, even this toxic shame affects this. Now, you may have a question, but toxic shame or whatever it is, it's a personality issue or your mindset issue. It's the wound that has affected you psychologically. How can it affect your physical body? There is one thing that you might have to notice and always remember. You should not see your mind and your body as separate things. You should see as one entity. Then only you will understand why your mental health issues and the toxic shame actually cause some physical harm. And like I said before, जिसको toxic shame है, he will always be staying in flight and fight mode. And that is the exact reason his cortisol levels in his body is always high. And his stress levels, obviously because of his cortisol, will also be high. Now you understand, because of stress, there are various health issues that you can get. There is the largest public study that has been conducted over 17,000 participants by CDC, which is Center for Disease Control, by USA. Whoever is having the emotional trauma or suffering from toxic shame, they've checked their physical records. And you know what they've found? They have a high risk and they're suffering from heart disease, from depression, some other form of addictions, and serious physical illness in adulthood itself. 17,000 people. This is not in the air and not abstract. It's evidence. So to conclude, let me bring this all together. हमने अभी तक डिस्कस किया था कि तुम्हारे childhood experience की वजह से when they're especially bad and when they're repeating again and again, you'll be having toxic shame, and because of it, you'll be seeing various effects in your life in many different categories like your physical health, your mental health, your relationships, and so on. But if we think that we have understood everything, that how we get toxic shame and what are its effect, you're completely wrong, because it's far more complex. Because until now, I have only given the examples of parents and how because of them you'll be having this toxic shame. But there are various other factors that also might be responsible for you to have this toxic shame, like media, like movies, like your education system, and the environment that you stayed in. All of these things, when they're done wrong, will cause a toxic shame in you, and it will build toxic shame in you. So in the coming videos in this particular series, I'll be taking each and every particular source and we'll try to explain in depth how you got this toxic shame so that you can exactly pinpoint and understand why exactly and what exactly is the reason you got this toxic shame, so that in the later videos we can diagnose it properly based upon how you got it. And if you haven't seen my previous video, which is titled India has an inferiority complex, please do look at it so that you will understand with few examples that why India and mainly Indians have this inferiority complex. And the answer just now I told you, it's because we have toxic shame. So before closing, do write in the comments below and explain if you notice any kind of these signs that I've discussed in you and what you have done for it.